Welcome to this episode of the Moblz Economy Podcast. Today we're talking about food trends for 2022.
Yep, we have 5 interesting trends that we're going to talk about today, and hopefully you guys can be on the lookout for them. Don't worry, I'm sure we'll be back in a couple of months to talk about some new ones because food is always evolving.
First trend we're going to talk about, comfort food. As you can tell, Patrick and I don't miss much of an opportunity to eat some comfort food, especially when it comes from a food truck.
Absolutely.
So what trends are we seeing out in the place today, Patrick, with the comfort food trends?
Well, with the comfort food, there's been a move towards people eating healthier and being a lot more health conscious. Okay, so what we've noticed, though, is that comfort food is making sort of a comeback in that what trucks and restaurants are doing is that they're repurposing the comfort food and remixing some of the classics to freshen them up a bit.
So what type of comfort foods do you think about when you talk about comfort foods? Like I think about French fries versus potato chips, and of course the mac and cheese.
Yes, you can see all types of different mac and cheese. I mean, this has been a trend from before, but like now it's like everything's a mac and cheese. Now there's seafood mac and cheese. I've seen riffs with some of the different like barbecue mac and cheeses, and they're adding chicken and things like that.
I had a Greek mac and cheese that actually didn't have cheese. It had Greek yogurt built into it. So it was actually a comfort food that was homemade and pretty good tasting, even though it didn't have cheese in it.
Nice.
Yeah. So kind of blend of the healthy comfort food.
Yeah. You're also seeing it with some of the international comfort foods. So people are doing things with the pho and the different types of like ramen, noodles, and they're combining things that with like tacos and things of that nature.
Yeah. And of course the donut's always popular for comfort food. You can add a donut to it, it's going to be comfort food.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to donuts.
And on that topic, that kind of leads into the next one, which is the donut has led a lot of the internet trends and internet food. So,
yeah. You can't turn on TikTok or take a look at some reels without seeing someone sharing like their favorite food hacks.
Yeah, I saw one not long ago, a food hack. They used donut dough, wrapped it around a hot dog to make it like a corn dog, but with donut on the outside.
Really?
Yeah, a donut dog.
So that's like everything is now like fair food.
Yes.
But you're now exposed to it at such a faster rate because it's on the internet and stuff. For example, for years people were just making up food hacks for McDonald's, and just recently McDonald's launched their own food hack menu. It didn't do as well as they thought it was because it didn't come pre-made. Right, so you would order that 4 menu hack, and it was just 4 separate sandwiches, and you had to put it together.
Really? So they didn't put pre-assembled as a menu item. It was some assembly acquired.
Right. People didn't really like that.
It's like an IKEA menu item at McDonald's.
That's exactly what it is.
Yes.
That trend again, because it's the internet. These food trends are happening a lot quicker. I mean, the other day, it was chili and Cinnabon. People combined those and had all types of different recipes. And that's another thing that's happening too. I mean, they're sharing these recipes so quickly that, it trends for like a week, and then it's on to the next. So it's very difficult to predict.
And I will say that one recommendation is, if you're going to use this for a party or a bunch of friends, test the recipe out in advance, because sometimes these internet recipes are put together to get clicks and may forget major ingredients or forget to make sure that it tastes really good.
100%. Don't invite anybody over for this new recipe that you have not tried out yourself.
Yeah. Especially because it got 1 million views on the internet. So on TikTok.
I tried there was a feta pasta trend, and I really didn't like that. But I did like the pasta chips. That was kind of cool. And the no mix cakes were pretty awesome as well.
Yeah. Well, that takes us to the next trend. Less is more.
Less is more. We're still dealing with a lot of supply chain issues and labor shortages. So it's forcing restaurants and food trucks to get creative with their menus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that on the food trucks as well as brick and mortar restaurants, which are, one of the restaurants I was at over the weekend used to have a front and back menu. Now has about 5 things to select from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're going out, look for menus to be a lot smaller, just because the costs are going up. I mean, in 2021, a pound of wings was $1.70, $1.50 to $1.70.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about they're like $3 to $4.
If you can get them.
If you can get them, there is a wing
Right.
shortage.
Yep.
It's actually funny that Wingstop, known for their wings, because of the wing shortage, had to switch and go to thighs,
Yeah.
which I found interesting. I'm a wing person, so I don't know how that worked with thighs. Like, did you just get a bucket of thighs?
You did. With their sauce on it. It was a little weird.
I think that's weird. I don't think
weird.
I would want a bucket of thighs.
Yep. It had their sauce on it. It was definitely weird.
Okay.
So I usually like thigh meat and thought that would not be all that bad. But no, I missed the chicken wing. So a very hot, spicy thigh is not the same as a hot, spicy wing.
Okay. Well, shout out to Wingstop for making a pivot. You know,
Yeah.
do what you got to do to survive in business.
Which is why we see about efficiency and efficiency food.
Right.
Fast turn food.
Right. So again, that goes into having to make the menus work better and faster for the customer, and for the restaurants just kind of being aware of having that flexibility to make those kind of maneuvers, right? If the prices of certain items are going up, these chefs are really having to sit down and create different things off the menu. So you look for restaurants that have a lot more specials, and go with things that are readily available.
Yeah, one of the food trucks for an event we had a couple weekends ago was talking with him, and he said that sometimes going to Restaurant Depot is a little bit like going on an episode of Chopped.
Mm-hmm.
That you end up with a bunch of ingredients and then figure out what you're going to make because that's what's available. And that particular day, something that he had bought a million times before wasn't available.
Right.
And he's like, how were they sold out of this? Yep, that's how it goes.
It's forcing a lot of chefs to do a lot of test kitchen things. Things that they wouldn't have done before, but they're forced to do now. Also, that goes into efficiency as far as like getting food out sooner. So what we've seen is trucks having pager systems, so that now you can go order your food and they'll give you your pager, and then you'll get buzzed when you can come back. That kind of pairs along with what we were seeing as far as like the pre-order systems, which again people are kind of enjoying because during COVID, people I guess felt gracious with time, but now that things are starting to move, they're not going to be necessarily as gracious.
Yeah.
I think, and it's nice to know like, hey, your food's going to be ready at 5:35 or 15 minutes, and you can have your pager get buzzed, or a lot of trucks now also they're sending you text messages.
Right. Which you hear me talk, I've talked a lot about using pre-order pagers and getting the food out quick.
Mm-hmm.
That if you're at that type of event.
Yeah.
One of the event we had 2 weekends ago, time wasn't of an essence.
Right.
And you did have, so in that case, I would rather have the trucks make sure that the food is spot on perfect and is delivering the food 110% than turning it super quick. So I think it's also knowing the audience and the place that they're at. So when we're talking about some of our lunches and service at lunch, you can't take 30 minutes to make somebody's meal. You got to get them their lunch pretty quick. If we're doing like our cars and coffee, it's all about being able to turn the breakfast items quick.
Right.
If you're in an apartment complex or a private event and people have got stuff to do, that's where the pagers are actually an asset.
Right.
I think if you're at a particular brewery, it's good to have those pagers and have good distance to be able to have the people walk around and not have to stand at the truck.
Right.
So, yeah.
This weekend in the Triangle is the Dream Fest, so there's not going to be many pagers at that event. It's a huge concert. There's going to be a ton of people out there. So, like you were saying, that you got to know your audience, and depending on the environment, will make sense for you to have a system or not.
Yep. And final topic of the food trends: stick with the truck. Yep.
Absolutely. Because of the popularity of some of the food trucks that are having to look to use services like Uber Eats to get food out to customers. I mean, it's the whole supply and demand type of situation.
Yeah. And what I would say is, right now we're seeing a lot of restaurants open back up, and we're seeing, Uber Eats not quite as popular. People are coming out. I will say right now, I think that a lot of times I'm getting better food at the food trucks than I am on some of the chain brick and mortar stores. Like here in the Triangle, there's a very large franchise Asian restaurant at South Point Mall that I probably will never eat at again because the quality of the service and the food was so poor. Gave them two attempts, and myself and the other person we had lunch there with go, boy, let's just go find the food trucks next time over at Imperial or someplace, because we know we're going to get a much better meal. They're caring about the food, and that's something I think the franchises are starting to cut so many corners that you're going to get better quality product out of the food trucks than you will out of some of these brick and mortar franchise stores today.
No, we've been really blessed in this area to have some amazing food trucks and trailers and dessert trucks or whatnot. We had talked just a couple of weeks ago about the food parks.
Correct. Yeah.
So Amrit Neruda is a operator of a couple of food trucks and the owner of 2 food truck spots. We went to talk to him, and he's got a very interesting system where he partnered with a tech company. And what they did, they had their own truck, and now they have like a POS system. So what he sees in the future is people being able to go onto the system, pre-order, and then he would be able to deliver that food to them. So you'd be getting like the food hall experience, because he's got at least 7 or 8 different trucks on his different lots. So, I mean, I thought that was kind of cool that you could order different food from different trucks.
Absolutely. So, well, that's our top trends. If you guys have any other trends that you're seeing in your area or would like us to speak about, put them into the comments down below. And be sure to like us and follow us on Instagram. Thank you for watching the Mobile Economy Podcast.